Taming the High Cost of College, Episode 91.
You have kids, they grow up, and before you know it, it's time to plan for college.
Where do you start?
How much is it going to cost?
Will you qualify for financial aid?
Should you be looking into scholarships?
When will you be able to retire?
What about student loans?
The list of questions is never ending. The good news is, all the answers are right here. Welcome to the Taming the High Cost of College podcast. Here is your host, certified financial planner, Brad Baldridge.
Hello and welcome to Taming the High Cost of College. I'm your host, Brad Baldridge. Today we have a great interview with Dr. Tricia Zelaya-Leon. She is the Director of Career Development at Rollins College. She has a lot of great insight and passion for what she talks about as far as taking advantage of the career offices that are available at the colleges that you attend. So as a bit of homework, what I'd like to point out is if you happen to be visiting colleges at this point, if you've got a junior or senior and you're trying to decide what colleges you might want to attend, I would challenge you to listen to this episode, which you'll learn a ton in, and then think a little bit about what you might want to ask or what you might expect from the career placement office at your college. So as part of the visit process, I often encourage families to visit the career placement office and learn what's available there because it's something that's available to most students and alumni, and it's something you're paying for as part of your tuition. So that you have access to these services, you may as well take advantage of them. So again, in listening to this, you'll get a little bit of an idea of what the career placement office can do and who's there and how it works. And as part of that, then I think you should, if you're still in the visit process, formulate some questions or come up with some ideas as far as how you might use that as part of your decision process, as well as just learning a little bit about what's available so that even if you ultimately aren't going to change schools because of what you learn, you can at least learn how to take advantage of what is available at the colleges you're considering. Now, if you happen to have a student that's already in college, I think this is great information as well because, again, it's a resource that most families are not taking full advantage of. So if you're a parent of a college kid out there and some of the stuff you learned here today, you probably could then put in an email and send it to them or encourage them to go ask questions at their placement office. Because as we learned, most students don't really concern themselves with the placement office until they're almost graduating from college. There are opportunities to do more at the placement office than just graduate and find a job. They have services to help you choose career paths and majors. They have services for internships. So there's lots of other things that you can do at the placement office besides just find a job once you graduate. So again, there's a lot of great information in this episode. I guess another point is Tricia's got a lot of passion for what she does, and you can hear that. And you can kind of translate into, well, is this the kind of office that you'd like to have access to? And is this the kind of person you'd like to, sit across the desk from and get some guidance from? And again, my answer to that, of course, is yes. And I think she might give you an example of what you might be looking for as you look at colleges and compare their services and their placement office. All right, as always, show notes are available at Taming the High Cost of College /91 because this is the 91st episode. Let's go ahead and jump into the interview with Tricia. All right, today I'm sitting down with Tricia Zelaya-Leon. She is the Director of Career Integration at Rollins College. Welcome, Tricia.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Before we jump into our topics today, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the college career field, and a little bit more about your history?
Sure. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I went to Ohio University for my undergrad. I got a bachelor's in Spanish education. I thought I was going to be a Spanish teacher, and while I was at OU, I fell into working in residential life and became a resident advisor and found out that I could do college as my career. And so I went to grad school, got my master's in higher education, and then began my professional journey at Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, where I was a hall director there for 6 years. And during that time, I got my PhD, also in higher education. From there, I wanted to teach, so I became a faculty member at Northern Illinois University in their Counseling Adult and Higher Education program. And then from there, I worked at Purdue University in recreational sports. And now here I am at Rollins College in Winter Park, working in our career center, which is very different from my background. My background is mostly in student affairs, working with the counseling side and with student success and first year experience programs. But now I do a little bit of that and I add it to the career piece. So it's been a long journey, but I'm happy to be here because this role allows me to work with students and families to piece together all the different pieces of college that will help them be successful before they get here, while they're here, and afterward.
All right. So I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but a couple of those schools sound like they're pretty large state schools.
They are. Every one of them are large state schools except for Rollins. It's the first small private school I've worked at.
Okay, so now Rollins. Tell us a little bit about Rollins then. It's she's at liberal arts. How large is it? What's your typical student like?
We are located in Winter Park. We're very close to Orlando, Florida, and we have about 3,000 students. About 1,500 of them are undergrads, and the typical student is, I find a lot of students that come here want to change the world. That's really their mentality. They have come from backgrounds where they could travel and experience the world in that respect, and they've come to Rollins for the philanthropic kind of service-related mindset that we have here. And also, many of them are very entrepreneurial. They don't know what they want to be when they grow up, but they know they want to run their own business, or they have an idea that they think could really change things, and they want Rollins to help them do that.
Wow, great. Okay, so it's a small liberal arts. What do you think the main differences are between the schools you've been at, I guess, from the small liberal arts compared to the larger state schools?
Well, the one thing, when I first got here, I was a little bit sad that I came from Ohio State, so I'm a Buckeye fan. I love my college football, and we don't have college football here. We don't have a lot of big sports, but what we do have that I think was a bit different at bigger schools was that here our class sizes are really small, and the faculty really do care about the students from an individual, personalized perspective. And I don't think that at big schools, faculty don't care about students, but there is more of it's harder to get to know a student when they are in a class of 200 or more, and when your primary focus is on research. Here, our faculty really are focused on teaching and bettering the lives of our students. And so while at a large institution, students don't have to feel like a number, them to be a bit more initiative driven, where they take the action to actually put themselves out there and not seem like a number. Here, our students are given that attention from the get-go, and they're able to kind of design their own path through college that way.
Wow, great. All right, so let's talk a little bit. You're obviously in director of career integration, so can you give us an idea of what that means and what your office actually does for students?
Sure. My office is really the career services entity, where if students want to learn about how to put together a resume, what kinds of skills they should put on that resume, how to do a cover letter, we do mock interviews, all of that basic kind of stuff. And we do that for alumni as well. So as soon as a student graduates, they can come back to our office at any time, get their resumes looked over, do mock interviews, get information about jobs, different internships, things that are out there. And that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the office. But my job in particular is to help students figure out how their major might link to their career, what kinds of options are out there, majors-wise and careers-wise, as early as before they even get here. And that seems really early to lots of people, but the earlier a student can start thinking about what their passion is and what value they want to bring to the world and to their own lives, the better we can serve them. I find a lot of students will come in and say, I want to be a business major because that's what's going to make me the most money. And perhaps that's the case. I'm not a business person, but I find that a lot of times the reason they choose that is because they'll have parental influences or other influences telling them, well, that's how you should go. Instead of them thinking, what's best for me? What am I really good at? What do I really want to do? And so I like to have those kinds of conversations with students before they even get here to say, come in and don't necessarily get your heart set on a certain major, because the hope is that you will connect with lots of people on campus and have different kinds of experiences, do some on-campus jobs, etc., that will help guide you in a direction that maybe you never even figured out was there before. And that's kind of the goal of college, is to find yourself, but also find where your place will be in the world after college.
All right. So I ask this question quite often, but what's kind of your opinion of the undecided student? And then I guess let me put it in further context, because I have a lot of parents come to me And many of them are a little distraught that they can't figure out how to do the college process because junior can't pick a major, or they're worried that it's going to take them 7 years to graduate, or et cetera, et cetera. So most of the time it's a stressed out parent talking to me about, well, what do we do about this undecided problem? It's really making our lives difficult.
Well, parents will hate me for saying this, but I wish every student would come into our institution undecided. And that's because an 18-year-old adult comes in and rarely knows exactly what they want to be when they grow up. I don't even know 40-year-olds that always know what they want to be when they grow up. And the way that our curriculum is designed is it requires our students in their first and second years to take a variety of courses that kind of expand their breadth of knowledge so that they can experience different kinds of disciplines and fields and get ideas of where their strengths lie, and then that could lead them to a possible major. Additionally, the students that come in with a decided major, nationally, we have over 40% of students that will change that major by the end of their first year, and even more will change it again. Many students will change their major up to 6 times before they graduate college. And that seems like it's okay because it's like, okay, maybe they're finding themselves, but the problem is that in different majors, they're taking different courses, and that can only delay their time to graduation. So my recommendation is for students to come in, and if they are interested in a major, to certainly declare that, but not think that that's like the stamp of approval to make that happen. And it's not scary if a student changes their major. In fact, I work with lots of students to help them know that there is a 3-year plan after that. So if they change their major, there are many majors they can finish in 3 years. They'll get out of here in 4 years. So it's not the end of the world if they do that. In fact, I encourage them to change their major once they realize that this is a better fit.
Right. Okay. And then I guess when we were talking earlier, you mentioned you've got some assessments and tools that you can use with students. Can you tell us a little about those?
Sure. One of the big ones is the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is the MBTI. Some people have heard of it. It really, it's a psychological test that allows students to figure out about their own introversion, extroversion, if they're thinkers or feelers, if they judge things or they perceive things. And that kind of gets at just the beginning of who am I and what kinds of skills do I bring to the table. It's not necessarily a career assessment, but it can lend itself to knowing, well, in this case, I am more of an extrovert. So working with people is something that comes naturally to me. It doesn't mean that because I'm an introvert, I can't work with people, but I'm more inclined to be more skilled at some of these kinds of work roles. We also use the strong interest inventory, which is much more career focused, which focuses on whether students will be more active learners or active participants in something, or if they want things that allow them to use their hands or that are much more vocal, that kind of stuff. We've recently, this past year, we required all of our first year students to read the Strengths Finder. I don't know if you've heard of Strengths Quest or Strengths Finder. It's an inventory that assesses your abilities and how skilled you are at something. And it says that we all have these 33 different dimensions of strengths within us. And you take the Strengths Finder assessment and it kind of shows you the top 5. And so if you focus on these top 5 strengths, then you can see what kinds of roles may fit into those particular strengths. And that's kind of an exploration tool for students to then start exploring some other careers. So there's a variety of different assessments that we use, and we go over them with the student. I think that's what's often missing when students want to take these assessments online or something. We encourage students to then come to our office, sit down one-on-one with a career counselor, and talk through their answers and how they think things are, if they are accurate or inaccurate, and what kinds of courses are they taking that either help or inhibit them from being able to use those skills and strengths in different ways, and how might different majors lead to where they want to be in the next step.
Yeah. So what do you think the most common, and let's start with younger students. So what is the most common problem you see with, say, freshmen or early sophomores, as far as when they come to your office, what are their concerns and what do you do about it?
Well, not a lot of first years and second years are coming to career centers. I mean, it's usually we see a lot of juniors and seniors that are in here because they are the ones where the end of the tunnel is there and they are getting ready to graduate and they want to get a job. Unfortunately, that's almost too late for them and they freak out. They get really high anxiety because they're like, oh my gosh, there are so many things I should have been doing in college that I wasn't doing earlier on. How am I ever going to get a job? I don't have any time. And we walk them through that and we can help them get there. But it would be nicer if we got our first and second year students into the office earlier, just to start talking about what do you want to do? What kinds of experiences in college will help you get there so you don't have to shove everything into the spring semester of your junior year and then through the senior year. But the most common issue for first and second years, I would say, is that transition from high school to college is not easy, even for the most brilliant of students who walk through our doors. I would say every single student I work with is brilliant. But a lot of times our students have come in they have close relationships with their parents, many times living away from school, whether they are away from college, away from home, whether they live close to home or far away. That is something that knows no brilliance. Regardless of whether you are close or far away, you're going to experience some homesickness. The independence issue of being here away from parents, having so many options, being able to do anything you want without a curfew, without any kind of accountability in that respect. In some cases, that can lead students off the path to being able to really be successful in college. And so I encourage parents to have really good conversations with their students before they get here to say, here's what I expect of you. Please make me proud. And then when they get here, to kind of let them go and but also say, these are the things I've instilled in you while you were in my house. Now take that to your school and make me proud. So that in the first and second years, it's that transition piece that's tough. But once students get involved and they have a mentor or a professor or someone that can kind of guide them, that really, really helps out. So I encourage students as soon as they get here to interact with their resident advisor or with a particular faculty member, or to find a staff member that seems like someone that they can go to for information and guidance. And then they'll be able to have some extra support that way.
Great. So I guess there's a couple nuggets in there, and we were talking earlier that you're a new mom, so you've got Noah at home now.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward 15 years, and now Noah's 15, and you're thinking about, well, Noah's going to go off to college someday soon, and since you live and breathe college, you know a lot more than the typical parent. What types of things would you be doing to prepare Noah? As far as you said, well, these are the things I've instilled in you. Now go make me proud. Well, what should we be instilling, so to speak?
I think the hardest thing, and it's easier for me to say this now than when it actually happens, but the hardest thing is to allow him to make mistakes and to take care of those mistakes on his own. I see a lot of parents who have cleaned up messes for their kids when they were younger. And then when the student gets to college, they have no idea how to get themselves out of something or how to advocate for themselves. And so as much as I want to protect Noah, and he's going to be 3 months old tomorrow, so believe me, my protective instincts are always up, but I have to always also be thinking, okay, if I keep him from taking him to the grocery store because I'm afraid of germs or something else, then who knows what's going to happen later on. He's not going to have to be in contact with those germs. So that could make it even worse when he actually does get into contact with them later on. And so I'm hoping that by the time he's 15, when he makes a mistake or when he has some sort of something that goes wrong in his world, that we will walk through the steps together. And I want him to make his own decisions with my guidance, as opposed to me just calling the school and saying, hey, my son did this. Let's fix it. Can I buy my way out of it? Or can we find a way to push it under the rug? That's easier said than done. But I think as long as parents can maintain that mentality of my student is at college and they are now an adult, even though they will always be my baby, they have to find ways to just hold themselves accountable and learn the pieces of responsibility that will help them when they move into the world of work.
Absolutely. And I guess as parents, we, especially those parents that have gone to college. So as an example, I can remember back to my college days, and I remember a young man down the hall when he moved in, he didn't have any sheets.
Mm.
So he quite literally slept on the bare mattress for an entire year. And he just didn't care. I mean, he probably could have went out and got sheets. He just didn't really care about that so much. And then, of course, those little buttons that are in the middle of a mattress to kind of hold it together. Well, when you don't have any covering on the mattress, those buttons are annoying. So he popped all of those off.
Oh, gosh.
So when he checked out at the end of the year, he handed a pile of buttons to the resident assistant that was helping him check out. And so I guess that's kind of what I think of when I think of kids showing up. And then I had another person down the hall that didn't understand how the laundry system worked. And so he, quite literally washed a bunch of clothes and folded, and put them in the dryer for one run that they didn't get dry. He didn't care. He folded them up and stuffed them in a drawer. No, you can't do that. You're going to have a bunch of mold and.
Exactly. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about too, is teaching students those life skills early on. I was pretty lucky. I was an only child, and my mom, I grew up in a single parent household. So although when I was younger, I didn't like doing chores and all of that kind of stuff, when I got to college, that wasn't new for me. But I would guess that probably 75% of our students have not done their own load of laundry and when they come here. And so, I mean, there are instructions in all of our residence halls, the basic instructions about how not to make all of your clothes pink. And some heed that and some don't. But I mean, I get students that their first question when they get here is, do you have a laundry service? And I laugh at them and I say, it's you. You are your laundry service. But, I mean, that's the independence piece, and that's basic life skills. I mean, part of the center that we have is the Center for Career and Life Planning. And so, no, I don't teach people how to do their laundry, but we talk a lot about those basics that maybe they didn't experience when they were growing up. I mean, for a lot of our students, they've never even had to share a room. So even just basic conflict management skills or living with someone else, that is cataclysmic to a lot of the students that come here. And so even without having those skills, it's hard for them to be able to then do well academically or to move past some of the roommate issues that they have. So it can be a challenge for students.
And then I guess the other issues that I hear a lot of talk about are things like time management, as far as there's not a lot of time spent in class anymore. It's not, your college doesn't start at 7:30 or 8 o'clock and go till 3:30. It's a couple hours here and a couple hours there.
That's right. I advise students and I help them pick their schedules, and sometimes we'll have the perfect schedule set with all the classes they need. We'll get them out of college in 4 years and they'll be great. And they'll say, I really only want to go to class between like 11 and 2. And again, I laugh. Probably I shouldn't, but I say, again, where I'm preparing you, my job is to prepare you for the world of work. And I don't know many jobs where your only time in the office or the only time you're working is from 11 to 2. If that were the case, I'd love to find that job. But many students, the hardest thing for them to do is just get up and go to class. And so I tell them all the time, I'm like, that is the easiest and hardest thing, but that is what will make you the most successful, especially considering most faculty members require attendance as part of your grade. So even just missing one class, it may not necessarily affect the grade in that respect, but you might be missing notes, you might be missing important quizzes or tests that happen that day. And so I had a student who could not for the life of him get up in time for his 10 a.m. class. We tried everything. We had alarms set on his phone. We had people calling him, people knocking on his door to get him in, and it still wasn't working. Somehow, we found this alarm clock on Amazon. It's called Clocky, and it's an alarm clock that once it goes off, it has wheels, and it wheels around your room and away from you until you catch it to turn it off. And that was the way we got him to get to his 10 a.m. class. So, I mean, we find a way. But again, I'm worried about him in 5 years when he gets into a job and he needs his clocky to get him to work.
Oh, yes. Well, I guess whatever works.
Yep.
All right. So I guess you also mentioned that you also help out alumni. How does that work? And what kind of services do you provide for alumni?
Our alums can keep in contact with our office. We reach out to them as well to let them know, because not a lot of students know that once they graduate, and it depends on the institution. I think most places will give services to alums as well, career services, because we want our alums to actually have jobs and be successful and carry on the institutional name once they leave. But our students can find us online, and we offer things as easy as just uploading a resume and cover letter to us, and we send it back to them digitally with our comments and recommendations, or we offer for them to come in and do mock interviews, or once we find out that there are new job opportunities, they have access to our database. We have a database that's specific to Rollins that we go out and we ask employers, would you like to hire Rollins graduates? And then they put in jobs and internships and different kinds of experiences that they want Rollins specific students for. And we give our alums access to that as well. And we let them know when there are new positions or new opportunities available for them as well. So we do try to keep in contact with them. And it's up to them to really respond to those requests and look through our database as well. But we get a variety of alums that'll come back and either use our services or help and mentor undergrads or other alums in ways by helping them find jobs or just talk them through the college experience as well.
Okay. And then earlier you mentioned that students often aren't coming in till, junior or senior year, and then they discover that there's many things that they feel like they're behind on.
Yep.
Can you give us some examples of what, in your opinion, maybe high school seniors should be doing, and then as far as getting prepped for college, and then ultimately when you get to college, plugging into whatever systems are available?
Yeah. I think high school seniors, if they are not already doing a good amount of community service, they should be adding that in. And not just the community service piece, but the service learning aspect. So I see a lot of students that will come in and maybe on a resume that they made when they were seniors, it says 250 hours of community service. And that's all fine and good. However, as an employer, when I'm looking at someone's resume, I don't ever want to look at how many hours of service they've done. I want to know what they got out of that experience. So were they able to lead a group to do canned food drives, or were they able to go on a service trip somewhere, and what did they do? Was it a mission trip? Was it whatever happened? So I encourage students to think about the functions of what they did as opposed to the number in that respect, because 250 hours of community service could mean that I just walked in, did my time, got somebody to sign off on it, and I left. Versus the person who actually initiated the service experience, learned about it, and found a passion area of, I want to help homeless people, or I want to work with kids, or something along those lines. Start thinking about that early on, so that once you get to college, especially at Rollins, we have a huge center for leadership and community engagement, where we allow students to take immersion trips where they can go to different parts of Florida or the nation and do work in Habitat for Humanity or in soup kitchens, or actually with particular groups and provide assistance there. And that can only kind of grow their resume in that respect. But looking at it beyond just the hours requirement is a good idea, just to start thinking about that. Also, any opportunities that students have in high school to do public speaking or getting involved in things that allow them to work with one another will be really helpful, not only for a resume boost, but also to be successful in college. I find that a lot of times the communication skills with our first year students are not always there because they haven't really had to do any kind of presentations or talk with people at length. And that can be really anxiety inducing. I mean, a lot of our students are really, really scared to give oral presentations. So the more practice that kids can get doing that earlier on and more comfortable doing that, they'll be a bit more successful, at least at a place like Rollins, where that's a part of our liberal arts ethos, is being able to speak critically about the things that you're learning and about the things that you are passionate about.
Right. And as you were just saying that, I'm myself as an employer and just kind of knowing the way the world works, is that communication skills are a piece of any and every job, unless you happen to, if you're going to be working a lighthouse or something all by yourself. That's about the only exception I can think of. But typically you need to be able to communicate with your coworkers and superiors and employees, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the hallmarks of a liberal arts education as well. I think a lot of students that want to attend a big public state school may go there because they want to go into engineering, or they have a specific career focus, and that's perfectly fine. But here, while there may not be a direct discipline-specific major all the time, we focus a lot on those communication skills, kind of what are being called the soft skills, even though they're actually really, really crucial to most jobs. being able to write, being able to speak, being able to work with others. Those are things that you can find in every class that is taught here, because there's a lot of teamwork, there's a lot of group projects and speaking and writing, which are things that I think have kind of fallen off to the wayside over the past few years. And so we want to work with students to build those skills and find ways to be able to market themselves, to say, this is what sets me apart from the random person that may be attending a big state school.
All right. Well, great. So do you feel like students, as they're getting older, getting the kind of the freshman, sophomore, that they understand the breadth and the sheer number of potential career paths out there? I think for most, even parents have a struggle with it, but there's the doctor and the lawyer and the business person and the teacher and the engineer. Mm-hmm. And other than that, they don't really kind of go beyond maybe the top 15 or 20 career paths, so to speak. And a lot of them are relatively broad. I mean, teachers really broad, from obviously from pre-K to college professor. But how do students deal with that idea that chances are some of your careers you've never heard of yet?
We have a couple of different ways to tackle that. One of them is another assessment that we use in our office. It's called Focus 2. And it is an assessment that kind of combines a lot of the stuff that I was talking about earlier with the MBTI and the strong interest inventory and strengths. Students take this assessment, and it goes beyond just the strength piece, and then asks for their values, how they spend their leisure time, all of that. And it gives them a pretty long list, maybe about 20, 25 kinds of majors and positions that may be of interest to them. And what happens is they can click on these different links that show them these are the jobs within that particular field. These are the salaries that starting people in that field make. These are the academic credentials they need. This is what a basic work day looks like, all of that. And that's one big resource where they can look up any job that exists. But at least when they take that assessment, it narrows down for them based on their skills and interests and abilities, about 20 or 25, so they can explore those. And that allows it to feel a little bit less overwhelming, because there are many, 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 many jobs out there. And there are jobs that are going to exist, don't exist currently. I mean, the work that I'm doing, I didn't know it existed even when I was in college. So there has to be some room for that as well, to know that maybe you're coming in undecided, and that's okay. But if you want to go into communication or something, that is a pretty versatile nature that will lend itself to pretty much any kind of career path, especially for those that want to go on to graduate school.
Right. So again, as a parent, what would you recommend for your children as far as when should they be plugging into career services and other facilities on campus?
I would say immediately, as soon as they get here, and to not wait, because I want everyone to know that the old school mentality of career services as being the resume place where you do interviews, that is just a small sliver of the whole pie of what we do. We want to work with students through every single year that they're here and beyond, to help them build the experiences and get successful that way. So when I talk with parents when they come to orientation, I give them my card and I say, hey, have your student reach out to me, or you can reach out to me at any time, and I'll have them come in and we'll just do some of these assessments. Or it's even just helpful to talk to the student about what do you want to be when you grow up? What are the things you want to do, as opposed to what's your major? I don't even ask students that when I first meet them, because it doesn't tell me much of anything unless they are, and there are a handful of students that do come in and say, I am biochem because I want to be a doctor, and these are the steps I'm going to take to get there. And those are very easy students to work with because they are self-starters and they know the paths to get there. But sometimes we fall into the trap of, what happens if you don't do very well in those classes? And being a doctor is not the easiest thing to accomplish. So do you have a parallel plan? Do you have another idea of what you may want to do if for some reason that doesn't work out? And sometimes students have a hard time with that question because they've always thought, I always knew that I wanted to be a doctor, but I failed biology. So it's a big deal for them, and that can be really shocking to their system and to their parents' system. So building in some flexibility early on helps them get to a better place as they progress through college. So I would say come to career services as early as you can, and don't think that it's just about building a resume. It's really about exploration and finding what fits.
Right. So you could help choosing majors and career paths, but I would assume that you also might talk about things like internships and study abroad and...
Absolutely. Yeah. The database that I was referring to, it's called Handshake. And in it has jobs, it has internships, it has study abroad. Well, we don't have study abroad in there yet, but we're hoping to meld that in. It has volunteer opportunities. It has just about anything that students could be interested in. And what's nice is that the student can put in their resume or something similar to that, and it will parse out their background and show them the internships, jobs, volunteer opportunities that mesh with what they are doing. So if there are employers out there that have specifically asked for English majors in their job, then they will see a list on their kind of like a timeline on Facebook of jobs and internships and opportunities that are specific to English majors. So students can start logging into that as soon as they get here, just to start figuring out, well, here are some ideas of what I want to do, or even when I'm going to be away for winter break, can I do an internship at home instead of being here? And so there are lots of different ways that we can walk them through that, depending on what year they are. It's never too early to start. All
right. Well, great. So we're just about out of time. So if people want to learn more about yourself or Rollins, or is there ways that they can contact your institution? And
absolutely.
What would those be?
Just go ahead and log into rollins.edu, and you can just type in career, and we'll be the first hit right on there, the Center for Career and Life Planning, and you'll see you can meet the team. You can contact any of us. That's the beauty of Rollins College, is we love to be able to get personal connections with folks. So shoot us an email, give us a call. We'll certainly give you a call back and answer any questions you might have.
All right. Well, thank you very much. There was a lot of great information, and we'll stay in contact.
Okay. Thanks so much.
All right. That was a great interview. Hopefully you learned a ton. I know I did. As a reminder, remember my challenge. Based on what you learned here today, what are you going to do? Are you going to contact a placement office for one of your children as far as finding a school to attend, or maybe you already have a student in college? But what's the next step for you? What action step can you take based on what you learned here today? And write that down or put it in your calendar or make sure that it happens somehow. Many families are kind of aware of some of these things, but they don't actually take action and take advantage of all these various services. As always, we encourage feedback. If you'd like to get in contact with us, feel free to send us an email or give us a call. All our contact information is at our website at tamingthehighcostofcollege.com. If you just have a general question or need some other help, you can also give us a call. We would appreciate it. Reviews are much appreciated as well over at iTunes. It helps us be found and helps us continue our good work. So again, if you leave us a honest rating and review over at Taming the High Cost of College in iTunes, that would be fantastic as well. That's all we have for this week. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Taming the High Cost of College podcast. Now it's time for you to take action. Head to tamingthehighcostofcollege.com for show notes, bonus content, and to leave feedback for Brad. The next step on your college journey starts now.
Brad Baldridge is a registered representative of Cambridge Investment Research and an investment advisor representative of Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer and member of FINRA and SIPC. Brad owns two companies, Baldridge Wealth Management and Baldridge College Solutions. The Baldridge companies are not affiliated with Cambridge Investment Research.